Says I need to log in. Hmm. Yeah, I can hear you now.
So we are live.
Awesome.
Little
Great.
bit of a choppy start, but that's okay.
Yeah.
So how are you doing this evening?
Excellent. Good. Just getting ready for Thanksgiving coming up here. It should be a nice holiday.
Yes, I am. I am looking forward to it myself. It's a little. It's believe normally I wouldn't speak of the holidays as being like a peaceful respite, but this year it's going to be. So a break from the craziness. How about that?
Yeah. Are you hosting or are you traveling?
Actually, we're traveling this year, so that's part of the break from the craziness. I get to leave when I when I want to leave.
Right.
That's
Right.
the yeah. I don't mind hosting at all. It's nice to have everybody come and visit you, but it's also nice to not be the host once in a while. That way,
Mhm.
when you've had enough, it's like you have that option. I can go
Right.
now.
Right.
I'm done with this. Time to leave. Um, so let's roll right into the introduction here with little bit of a choppy start, but that's okay. So this evening, thank you everybody for coming to check this out, and I get to sit down with a really unique individual tonight, with Jeff Goodsill, the CEO of Upheaval Games, and so many things that you've been involved with and done in your past, which I'm gonna let you talk about in just a moment. Um, I'm very excited about this and really looking forward to the conversation tonight. You want to go ahead and introduce yourself, Jeff?
Sure. Yeah, I spent a lot of my career making video games. So back in, say, I don't want to date it, but I think back when my first game job was after I worked in the defense business for 10 years, and I started at Ensemble Studios, and
You
because
want
that
to
was
go ahead and introduce
probably
yourself, Jeff?
1990s, or maybe it was 2000s. I don't even remember now. It goes back, but I run a bunch of game studios, including Ensemble Studios, Papyrus, Iron Lore, Tencent Boston or Stomp Games, and did ad tech for almost 3 years, and started a couple startups. This one I'm very close to. This is a AI gaming startup, Upheaval Games, and been doing this for about a year with my partner Twain, who's our CTO and really bright guy. And I think you've had him on before, so
Yeah, twice actually.
I think we yeah. Oh, twice. Awesome. So
Yeah.
yeah, I think we make a good team. And I worked with him at Tencent Boston for a few years, a couple of years, and got to know him well then. So I'm glad to be doing this with him now.
That is awesome. And you two guys together working on the Upheaval project is fantastic. And I know that you guys have other talented members of the team as well. So it's really exciting what is going on with that project. Do you mind telling us a little bit about some of the things that you have done, some of your experiences with different games throughout the years, and how about
Sure. I mean,
go
yeah, I
ahead.
started. So Ensemble Studios was really my first entry into the game market, and um, that Age One had started. They'd actually um, they had actually launched that game. So, but it had not really made any revenue. I think when I started, just it was me and the CEO were sort of in a shared little office. We shared the same desk, um, and uh, we were broke, as most game companies are. I think when they start out, are worried about payroll. Matter of fact, if you open the drawer on the desk, you could you could see everyone's salary, because Tony would put it there.
I was gonna
It was
say,
just,
payroll. People get paid to do this. What?
yeah, yeah. It's a small. We're all. Most game companies start very small. We were, I don't know, at that point, 15 or 20. I don't remember, but it was a small group, and I'd come from defense, which is a very more rigid and long cycle. So defense was like a 30-year process to get something through the procurement cycle to, get a missile out in the field or whatever, basically any munition or any defense. I worked in sonar, so I had more experience with that. But anyway, very long and very rigid purchasing process where games were, still very new at that point, and even transitioning into the game business at that point was questionable. I think my parents were very concerned. It's like, why are you leaving your big, nice defense job? And at that point, we had what it called secretaries or assistants,
Right.
working. And that's like you made it when you had your own office, and it was just a different time. But um, so we started, and I remember at you know the age started to do pretty well, but we were quickly ramping up our team to make age 2, and that game I think is the best in the series, but that's because I was probably closest to that one. I think that, but a lot of people I've talked to said they really enjoyed age 2, but during that process, there was a time where I think we were again running out of money, and our publisher didn't want to pay us at a certain point for dispute over milestones, and we're like, oh, we're going to close the company if you don't pay, or we're going to close, send everyone home, and they ended up did paying us, and eventually they bought us, and it was a great relationship, but as starting out, there was those couple of hiccups there, several times. It's usually from a CEO perspective or a business person, it is about making payroll, about developing great teams, great staff, um, but you're always fighting over those funds before a game starts to become really successful.
Right.
Then when it's successful, it's like manna from heaven. Everything's great. You have a different set of problems, but you have a lot of money coming in, and yeah, I have more stories there about Age of Empires. But I mean, Age of Empires, and I went to run my own game studio for Sierra at that point, which was Papyrus. It was an established racing game studio, but that was sort of a chance to come back in the East Coast and run that studio, and that was fun, making a racing game. More stories there, but just to give you the high
Right.
level,
Right.
those racing games were um, uh, sort of a mixture of strong sim with some arcade mechanics in there, arcade style. So it becomes very hard to drive a car when it's pure sim,
Right.
with the
Right.
steering wheel, and it's just you have problems. And then I think it was Titan Quest, which was a like Diablo-ish RPG, which is still around today, amazingly.
I remember Titan
You
Quest.
know that, yeah. And let's see. Then it was you're working on a big MMO for Tencent for 5+ years, and um, I think we transitioned to another another product there, but neither of which really saw the light of day. And then it was doing ad tech, and I started making a in-venue game, in-venue being like bar type games, or basically in venue, and then COVID hit. So that went nowhere. That was, that was a little unlucky. Um, that company had some problems, but certainly COVID put the death nail in
Right.
it. And
Yeah.
uh,
COVID definitely introduced some unique challenges. That's for sure. Um,
yeah,
it's even in this industry, even in the gaming industry, and that's across the board: role playing games, TTRPGs, and video games. Because there was a huge boom, but at the same time, there was a lot of fallout coming out of there as well. So
Yeah, there was, and I mean the booms were certainly now we can all be distributing. We can all work from home.
Mm.
It's a lot easier to do that, I think, and the advantages outweigh the disadvantages, in my opinion. I mean, I certainly miss like some of the play tests. I mean, I think I shared the story with you once, Greg, about how one of my two of my favorite times we were building Age of Empires and NASCAR racing was when we got to do play tests. And so as a studio head or GM, you're not as involved on a day-to-day basis, but every once a week that we had scheduled play tests where I got to play. At Ensemble, we had a basically a semi-round pit where we had 8 stations laid out in like a semicircle, and we had a designer sort of back and in the middle, and he would watch us all play different scenarios, different things, and we all get together and we talk about it for an hour or two afterwards with just the designer taking notes about our experience. It was so much fun and just look forward to it. And I think that's the moment when you know you have a hit. Same with NASCAR, racing, when you had a chance to play with the play testers and you would go around different tracks. And when I felt like, it was just at some points it was very frustrating, but then at the point where either I got good or I got tuned to a point where it worked for me.
Right.
Um, those are really fun times when we get together and talk about it. And those are some of my most dear moments, I think, in making games is those times you get to play it with the team and talk about it and be involved in that design process. As a leader, in my type of positions, it's not as involved with the design of the
Right.
games.
Right.
It's more about hiring the teams and getting the money and setting the visions and working on, either money problems like, the external money from publishers or financing, or it's dealing with personnel problems, staffing issues, and it's more that part. But you always, I mean, anyone in the game business probably love games from a CEOs down, um,
Well,
and
you kind
so
of have
those,
to. Kind of
yeah,
have to, don't you? I
yeah.
mean,
I think so. In order to be halfway good at it, I think you really,
right.
you want to be involved. And you asked me this question once before about being, do you have to be, how passionate do you have to be? And you do, because it's such a competitive business and there's so many studios that fail and so many products that fail, because you really have to be all in.
Right.
Um, you can't do it partially, and I think you need to, love the product. And everyone says, well, that's great, you got to make video games, and yes, that's a part of what you do, but there's a big piece of what that's not what you do. Is get to actually make them. You get to contribute and give your input, and
Right.
but you basically are hiring good people that make those games for you or
The,
for the
the
customer.
making process is not always a lot of fun.
Yeah.
That's, I come to realize that testing mechanics is that can be one of the most grueling things that you ever do. Continuously testing mechanics to see where the where the errors are at, what works well, and then how does it all work together, kind of thing.
Mhm.
That can definitely be not fun. The end result's fun, but it's in the
Yeah,
process of doing.
it is certainly a challenge, and that's one of the things that I'm excited about AI and the current company we're working on is to basically give people more time to be able to find the fun, to find the balance, to um, be able to iterate, to try something new, because it's always the schedule, right? It is a business, is the money. Some people will work for free for a while, but they can't afford it forever. Ever people need to get paid,
Right.
and so
Right.
because of that, we have schedules, and because schedules drive like sometimes a lot of rushed things. And most every project, we always wish we had more time. We always wish we could try something different.
Right.
um, there is that point, like I said, when you're testing a game and you really realize it's fun and the team is excited about it, that you're there. But even when you're there, it's hard to let go. You always want to do something else. I guess that's why there's sequels. And it's also sequels because those are low risk,
Right.
but
Right.
AI gives you more time to hopefully allow you to, um, innovate and try new things that you couldn't before.
So Jeff, you've been in, as you've just illustrated for us. I mean, you've been in this industry for a long time now, and you've done a lot of different things. You've been involved with several different startups, basically, right?
Yeah, pretty much. I would say everyone was a startup. I mean, even Papyrus, who, we were 20 people, 25, and we were owned. So when I got there, they'd already sold. But we were fighting EA, and EA had this huge NASCAR budget. They had a product called NASCAR. We did too. Our project called NASCAR Racing. But they had more. They spent more money, and so we're always, you're constantly are fighting the competition to make the best possible product.
Right, right. Provide, finding where your niche is at, that kind of thing.
Yeah, use product market fit, which you do in a startup, but I would say most development cycles are sort of startup-ish, whether or not you're owned or not. I mean, I haven't really worked for a big established. I mean, Tencent was big and established, and was fortunate to them to write me, pretty much a blank check to do what I needed to do, which is great.
Right.
That's the dream of everyone, is to be able to have that position. But you're searching for that right product and getting that right fit. So it's always about that product market fit, making sure it resonates with the people, and that it is exciting, not just for you, but it's exciting for, you know, more than a very distinct vertical slice of the population.
Well, some of the terminology we're talking about there is, owned being different from not owned. So
Yeah, that's quite a difference. There is a difference. Yeah.
Can you unpack that a little bit for me?
Yeah. So, when you're not owned, there's equity, and generally most people are sharing equity in the company, so everyone's getting a piece of it. And you're working for your investors, whoever that is. In a game business, typically it's publishing. Publishing will tend to take your when they accept it, taking your product. Sometimes at very early stages, but as the industry matured, they're taking it later and later stages. So now it's more likely they're going to take a game at a vertical slice before they start putting in big money. They want to see that core gameplay loop working and having fun. So
Right.
you're kind of working. You're working for them to make sure you're meeting the milestones. You don't get in those discussions about are you delivering to your milestone, right? Those are the discussions you have, but you still are independent and you still have more control. I mean, you still can say no. I think in either case, it's hard to say no in a way to the person paying it, whether or not
Right.
you're working for someone as an own studio, right? But it's not quite as exciting, I guess, because when you're independent, there's this big pot of money that you're hoping for at the end. That, geez, your game's going to be a real hit, and you're controlling that, and you can take that and build your studio into more, and you're more free to be able to you know incentivize your staff and grow your company. You have a lot more control. I mean, this is obviously from my CEO, general manager perspective, right? A studio head perspective, right?
Right.
It's nice to be independent because there's this sort of bigger reward, bigger payoff, more control. I think when you're owned, some of that goes away,
Right.
But I would say, I worked as hard as I did for Tencent. Basically, we were 100% owned by them. But we worked just as hard. Just felt felt a little different. We were
Right.
more, I think, locked into sort of some of their
It's
policies or ideas.
it's definitely a lot different to build something that you have an ownership stake in versus building something that essentially belongs to someone else. The level of ownership you take in it's different.
Right.
So I do want to just back up just a moment. I was thinking about a couple things there because you're talking a little bit about the financial piece to this and how that works. And please do correct me if I'm wrong here, but what I think you were talking about is that early on stage you're getting seed capital basically. You're getting angel investors, people that are just you've basically pitched the project and they're interested in seeing where it goes. So you get a little bit of money from several different people to basically kick it off. Is that correct?
Yeah, I think so. It's changed over time, right? Early on, we could go. I mean, Ensemble just basically started on an idea. Tony, the CEO, just went up at I think the Stuart Mulder or one of those guys, probably still around somewhere. High Stewart and Ed Freeze. Those guys are still around, sort of.
Right.
Um, but Tony went up to them at some conference and said, "I want to make Age of Empires a historical RTS," and they're basically here, send some design doc stuff, and we could get started. In today, it's a full vertical slice. So how do you build a vertical slice? Yeah, you need some investment, or you need to have money squirreled away for 6 months or a year where your team can work for free, or not for free, but they're working all for equity to be
Right.
able to get to the point where the publisher is going to give you enough money to finish the game and to market it. And it depends on the size of the game. So again, my perspective is making these AAA, these big games. I don't have a lot of experience making really small teams, small games, small arcadish type games. And
Right.
my perspective is AAA.
Right. So when you first came out of the military industrial complex
Yeah.
and you found yourself headed into games in that first company, um, what would you say the difference? Obviously that was a different experience because you're learning a whole new list of skills and things. So what would you say the big difference is when it comes to that financial piece then and now? What would you say the differences are?
Well, certainly one of the big changes for me was, a very rigid timeline, very concerned about, every dollar spent in the military approved. Whereas games is more a creative endeavor, and you can't get too caught up in that, because if you get too caught up, you're going to fail. You
Mm-hmm.
can't get too overly, rigid or contractual or dogmatic on the way in which you produce something. Whereas the military is very, you know, very cycled, right? So when the game industry used to start with waterfall, so somewhat similar, waterfall development being, purely schedule driven, but
Mm-hmm.
also
Mm-hmm.
very cost, aware, because you have a budget, you stay within your budget, you deliver it, because people's lives, basically whatever you sign up for, you're doing it no matter what.
Right.
Right. And so you're very conservative, very cautious. Game industry was very, especially in the beginning, maybe even today, is still pretty wild as far as, contrasting the creative process to, it's still creative to create, to create software. You're creating different, military software, but you're doing it with like huge tomes of documentation and approvals, and just
Right.
really long, rigid cycles,
A lot of bureaucracy.
incredibly expensive. And I mean, lives matter. It's people's lives matter. So
Mm-hmm.
you want to be very, I guess, cautious that way. But in the game business, it's you're trying to get to market within the constraints that you have, but it's much more freewheeling, I guess. Um, and still, you still need professional management, project management,
Right. Right.
to deliver a game, than you would deliver a military piece of military hardware.
So as we talk about this, it brings up a couple of other a couple other questions. I know that you have some experience in lean, um, and so do I. You're when you're talking about project management. So do you use some of the same tools, like from a manufacturing standpoint, Scrum? Do you use Scrum for as part of your process for creating games, or do you have a different methodology that you use?
Yeah, I mean, most people, will talk a modified agile, which So finding the right process to match the team is what's important. The process helps drive the learning experience for the people on the team
Hmm.
and the individuals and how they grow. So you need to find a process that will help them grow, and also help deliver the best product, right? So
Right.
it's a combination of personal growth, which people I think many times overlook. But I'm driving a particular process on how to develop, whether it be agile development or waterfall or Kanban or combinations of different methods.
Right.
I'm picking a method that I feel is going to help that person be the best they can be and to deliver the best product, and that they're going to learn the most with it. Because we often fight over the process, but it's the goal the process discussion is not the real discussion, even though that's where a lot of discussion happens over, what process you're going to use and how you're going to use the process. What it really comes down to is, um, you need, um, great teams make great games, and everyone's going to tell
Right.
you that they have a great team. The
Right.
reality is everyone does not, and we're all imperfect, and we all need to grow. So, one of the things I fight a lot in the game business is ego. In
I think that's
ego
every
get,
business, but yeah.
get in the way of yeah, because gets in the way of people learning and growing. So, that's
Hmm.
part of the process and the process discussion. Um,
I
Process being
it's funny that you say it that way. I in a former life for myself, the actually one of the owners of the companies that I worked for, Innova Furnishings, um, he Eric had, one of the big things that he talked a lot about, and we not only preached but we practiced very well in that idea of learning and growing together, because effectual teams do that. They consciously work towards being able to learn and grow and develop not only themselves but the team as a whole together, versus having all your individual, your individual people are going to have individual strengths, but the best part of having that team is when you can balance those strengths and weaknesses across the whole team, and not just have those one or two superstars that overshadow everybody else.
Yep,
um,
and it's very, and I think generally the high functioning teams generally allow the people with the best, well researched, articulated ideas win. It's not who's the highest level position in the company or who has sort of the star roles. And there are star roles on any team.
mhm,
Just
mhm.
like, football, we have a quarterback's the star. A lot of times, like a principal engineer, the principal lead designer, right? The art director. They sort of have very lead starish type roles.
Right.
But generally the good ones understand that it's not just all about them, but like the lead programmers or one or two are generally going to write like a bulk of the code, the bulk of the engine that makes the game work. The one or two designers, and you might have a big team around them, but you sort of need these central star figures, right?
Right.
And not let it go to their heads, right? But they are the stars, and they need to be supported with the people around them. But generally a good team doesn't look at, do they have a star role? Are they the CEO? Are they, whatever title that they have? It's
Right.
not that. It's who can articulate their position that's well researched and reasoned. And generally, good teams can do that, and bad teams have a problem with that piece for personality reasons or for a lot of reasons. Right?
Right.
There's a lot of things in the game industry has a lot of mental illness in it. There's a lot of people that are extremely talented on one side, but have, a lot of these, personnel issues, and something we don't talk about a lot.
Mhm,
It's sort of
mhm.
behind the veil. People just, they're either ashamed of it, or, they're, something you can't talk about as a business. I can talk about it. Obviously I would never bring up people specifically, but you could see this throughout the industry. This
Right.
is a common thread that pulls through it. They're on the autism spectrum or whatever, but they are extremely good at what they do.
Right.
And so it makes balancing a team a interesting challenge. Um, to get to that sweet spot where people are, everyone's valued and people are listened to, and there's no disrespecting going on. People feel good about their work.
I have to say, Jeff, knowing what you've worked on, what you've done, and what you're doing, and the team that you have behind you doing it, I have to say, you've done a really, really good job at navigating that. You're demonstrated that you can do that really well. So that's
I've been
awesome.
lucky. I've been lucky to just,
You're
work
also
with
very
some
humble.
really incredible
Appreciate
people,
that.
and I love the people I have. I have worked with, and that's really what I think has always motivated me to stay in the business, because they're such bright, smart, intelligent, caring.
Right.
There's, I mentioned the some of the other issues, but at the deep side, there's so many incredible people in the business. And I've been really lucky to be able to work with some people, and I'm really proud of a lot of the people I've worked with, or I've hired hundreds of people, and many of them gone on to hold very senior positions in companies, and I've been able to see them where they start out, and they come in, they're so new, and just learning, and then they've grown to far beyond what I could ever hope to
Right.
do in their skill sets, and they're so much better than what I am today. And it's just so great to see them progress in there. I can sit back and watch. It's great.
So when I know right now it looks like you guys are in, okay, so for Upheaval, you're in a growth stage, but really it's kind of at that, where would you say that project is really at right now? I don't want to butcher it. So
Yeah. So we're pre-seed, and so that's basically pre-revenue. We're basically have just moved from a prototype to MVP, minimum viable product, where actually people can use it, and we've just got basically our first client. They're starting to use it, and we're just in negotiating the final terms to that. So we've gone from sort of prototype demo to an MVP. We've raised a few $100,000, and we have this small team, not just, there's 7 of us basically now, and we we're in the very early stages, and what we're building is an AI gaming platform that allows people to build games without code. So basically, you can
perfect.
talk to create 2D, 3D images. You can create animations. You can create your game worlds, gameplay. So this is sort of just beginning. This is level 3 AI. This is 6 levels of AI, and so this is sort of the mid level where the industry is just evolving at level 3.
Mm-hmm.
And level 3 basically is AI agents that can control. Basically, for gaming purposes, they can control the game world to a certain extent. They can make adjustments based on what they see, and in a thinking, reasoning way. So
Right.
if and they can have, and so examples of that would be, what they observe in chat or what they observe in behavior. It's not just increasing to, like, in RPGs, right? There's 3 levels of difficulty, or there's basically these levels, but these will be very fine-tuned levels of difficulty, or it can react by weather, and then the game world is rivers are rising, and then they can create a bridge on the fly and place a bridge they have to go over, and it can basically come up with all these different scenarios on the fly, because you can create assets on the fly. It's not quite there.
Mm-hmm.
um, this is still what I'm projecting right now is the vision of where we're going to be, but where we are today is probably pipelines that are 50% faster. So you still need, and you probably will always need artists and designers and
Mm-hmm.
to some extent programmers. Although
Writers.
the programmers are probably the first people that will admit that the efficiencies there are quite high. And that's
Right.
probably one of the first problems that AI does pretty well is programming. Um, I mean, there's such this. Sorry, I kind of feel like kind of butchering this because it's such a deep topic. It's hard to give this as a synopsis in just a couple minutes.
I realize that especially the conversations that I've had with like Twain Martin, and he's given a couple of, well, I mean, we had a live demonstration that he did on Twitch with me and with Rob, and that was when you were just kind of going into the first round of looking for studios to test out the product or companies to test out the product. So, looking at, okay, we've kind of established what the aim of this is, and I am very excited about it. It's amazing to me to sit back and think about the idea of, okay, I could sit here by using this product. I could sit here and create assets for a game just by simply telling the AI, which, I mean, I've got a picture of one of the avatars of the AI right here on the stream. I could just tell her, I want this. Give her a few details, and she will create a complete story, mechanics, a visual in seconds, and throw it
Yeah,
up there for me.
yeah. So it is. That's exactly right, Greg. That's we're currently doing that now, right? So we can create a NPC to a AAA quality on a 2D image, and we can go back and forth with an art director or an artist and a designer to say, here's a dragon boy and it needs a different type of armor, it needs a different type of helmet, and the AI will create it. And they say, no, I want the horns to be a little bigger. You go back and forth. I use AI every day, right? A lot of people do that, and it still needs sort of that instruction to continue to get it right. But you can do this in a matter of in an hour setting. You can go down and create an NPC, which from a just starting from a 2D and a 3D. So I'll go through the pieces. But 2D typically, I can remember at Tencent where we'd have a concept artist and you start with these basically thumbnail sketches, and we'd argue over those designers, and then we go and make these sort of halfway decent quality 2D images, and then we'd pick 2 or 3 of those, and they'd fully develop them, and then we'd hand them off to a 2D modeler, then a texturer, then through this process. Everyone still needs quite a bit of work after it's created, but still it can get pretty far there. And the other thing that's happening is all the backstory is there, and the backstories are pretty good. And the game attributes and the things that it needs to run in the game is all pretty good. So that's all happening.
Right.
And when you think of the long term, where we're headed on this long term, when I started talking about that generative that the AI controlling the game world, so agentic gameplay, that's the turning point. That's a new genre, and they work hand in hand because as the AI is thinking, it can also be creating at the same time. So now interactive entertainment is not just pure entertainment. It can be used for education. It can be used for science. It can be used for health. You can create these individual experiences for people that are catered to their learning, where they are in learning, or with taking physical therapy, where they are with physical therapy. So multimodal AIs can actually watch and see what people are doing, and then they could actually make adjustments and do it in giving with a personality like you'd get from a physical therapist. And so the outcomes can be better, education can be better, science can be better, marketing, it all is going to increase. And I don't look at it as like everyone's job's going away. What I look at it as now we can innovate in ways we never had before. Now we have time to do what we always wanted to do. I can tell you, in every team I work for, every team's always wished for more time. No one has ever said, geez, no, we need to ship it now. We're ready. No one has ever said that to me, ever. Every team has wanted to tweak it more. Now with AI, I think you can. There is I'm sorry, these are far-ranging conversations. I'll try to stay
Right.
focused on your question,
Well,
which is,
I think you hit on something really important right there, though. And that's, I mean, and I'm kind of interested in your opinion in this because AI is definitely going to reduce the time required to do a lot of things. But what do you think will happen with that? Does that mean it's going to take less time to get games to market, or does that mean games are going to grow in complexity and quality exponentially, or maybe a mixture of both?
so I think one of the big challenges coming up, well, one, it's going to be the early release stage, so you'll be able to get it and market and test it and iterate it a lot more. You also be able to do that with your team. So I think what you do is you have a more polished and you have a deeper game. Um, but one of the big challenges now for the team will be able to work with AI to teach it to have less hallucinations, to make less errors, so that it can create these game worlds that can react. So it can be basically a Ready Player One experience. We're going to a game world and it's changing and reacting with you. That's where thousands and tens of thousands of jobs are going to go. AI basically. Our engineering team is all basically, they understand this. They're moving on. They're becoming AI engineers, and they're learning how to work with AI, how
Right.
to give it memories, how to train it, how to get the best out of it, controlling the data. And that's where we're going to be doing is there's going to be a lot of work on this new genre that's going to emerge,
Right.
this new interactive game experience that we've always talked about in the game industry, but have never really done. We always say, well, we're going to be providing this, and we're really not. We're in this small way we are, but we're not really providing a game world that's truly going to adapt from a artificially intelligent um, AGI, artificial general intelligence, someone smarter than humans, being able to provide you a better experience than you possibly could get. So, but we're going to need people to work with the AI to do this right.
Right, right. I think, and I think everybody understands that, AI is definitely going to change the face of industry across the board. It's not just going to be games. It's going to change a lot of things. Now, that doesn't, and here's the controversial question pieces that come up to people, which I'm not asking questions in this area. I just want to make the statement. It really doesn't mean that, AI as a tool is not here to replace people. It's not here to replace jobs. Um, if anything, it's here to amplify productivity, creativity, and efficiency. And I think it has the potential, especially with tools like what you're working on right now. It has the potential to really, be a very disruptive tool in the marketplace and allow these things to really move forward, not just quickly, but I mean, take big steps. That's exciting.
Yeah, I mean, it's basically we can help push society forward.
Hmm.
It's just like electricity. It pushed society, or the internet, or the industrial revolution. Sure, it was disruptive, changed jobs, but it pushed our society forward. It's going to make society better. We're going to have better interactive entertainment experiences for my industry, and in a lot of other industries, right? It's going to
Right.
change that. Our industry is now our industry now is 300 billion in it. You see the graphs up double digits or single digits, 8 to 14% for several years, depending where you look. So, but I think that's way underestimated, because now interactive entertainment can be used for more than just pure games, or
Right.
more than basically A or double A uh, serious games. Now we can make serious stuff. We can make real stuff at a triple A level that are going to engage people in ways that never before. That individual education experiences, right, are going to push our intelligence forward, or you're going to have better outcomes in health, in the operating room, and your doctor, and physical therapy. All these things are going to happen, and that's interactive entertainment. Interactive entertainment, when I started, right, has always pushed our society forward in ways. It's created new hardware. It's
Right.
it's pushed right to the point where we have artificial intelligence now. It's, NVIDIA started making video, video graphic cards, right? And,
Right.
we push that forward. We push forward so much. I think that helps helps the world. And now, it's led to some, addiction and bad experiences in games, right? Is a darker side, but there's also a very positive side of what it can do, and that's what we're trying to do. We want
Right.
to help direct AI in the gaming space because we've lived it. We've seen the problems. We've seen hundreds of millions of dollars wasted. We've seen so many studios close, and in a hard way. And now we're going to give people a chance to create what they wanted to what they want to, and then allow it to expand into many different verticals. So our $300 billion industry, even it's projected at 350. I'm going to say it's should be a $600 billion industry within a few years, not 350.
Right, right, right. And the opportunity piece that's there, some of the things that looking at what has happened in the gaming industry over the last couple of years, there's been a lot of downsizing in the big studios, a lot of um, mergers, acquisitions, that type of thing that's happening, and economic situations kind of create that. But what AI allows, this is just my opinion in this, but what AI allows you to do as a gaming studio, let's just say in the indie space, let's just start there and say in the indie space, is it allows you to be much more highly competitive with a smaller team. And the thing about the smaller team thing is I'm a big advocate of smaller teams because you get too many cooks in the kitchen and nothing gets done. So you look at some of the legacy games that everybody knows the name, and they were created with teams that are not even really half the size of the teams you look at now. I mean, things like World of Warcraft, things like Empire, Age of Empires. I mean, created with smaller teams of people, and they were fantastic games for their time. They're still fantastic games, and the whole principle behind how they were created is just it's different from where we've gone as an industry. We've gone to 25 people or 50 people. I need 200 people to work on this project. I think AI as a tool allows us to be able to get back to that and still be able to potentially, actually, maybe the better way to put this is to realize what we thought we were going to get with 200 people on that team.
Yeah, yes, right. That's a great way of putting it. I think it's to realize what you thought you were going to get with that 200-person team, you could now get with AI. And as a designer, people creating those games, or even as a CEO who wants to put their input into games, now we can actually try that stuff and test it. Versus, oh, you want to create another character? No way. There's no possible way we can add, another class. There's no time. There's no budget. We can't balance what we have. We can't do it. Now you can do it. Now you can think of what you want to create, and now you can start creating it. It's going to, democratize game development. It's not just, this elite group of ultra smart, programmers or elite artists and designers. Now, a lot more people can try it. A school teacher could be able to create an interactive experience for their students. A
Right.
doctor could create that. A scientist could create a research project. Right? And AI is going to actually start, being inventors. It's sort of stage 4 of AI, where they're going to be inventing things. It'll be a very interesting time of be inventing. Right now, I think they're starting to invent a lot of new materials. We can do that quicker than in a traditional model. So we're going to see a lot of advancements. That there, it's not going to all take over. The AI still has a lot of hallucinations. We have some solutions to that, but it's a big problem. Some people say that's not solvable. There's problems around how much data is out there. Right? There's a lot of things that happen that you just
Right.
can't, that just aren't digitized. Right? I'm a pilot. I fly planes. It's not, some of that stuff. Some of that learning is not digitizable. Some of it is, right. You can
Right.
create
Right.
sims, but there's some other stuff that's not. There's things around us in the world that aren't really digitizable or digitized.
Well,
We'll probably, long term, be interested to see what happens, but it's not probably going to happen quite as fast. But I will tell you, just a few months ago, like creating a sword was this really ugly thing with 20 million polygons, and was so bad. And just every month, I can see that getting better and better. So within 6 months, I've seen it grow from this thing that like could almost not recognizable to something now it's recognizable and
right.
probably almost usable with limit. I've seen that in 6 months. It's amazing to me. It feels like in the beginning of the industry when new genres were being created, these um, we could just we're sort of free to create a new genre,
Right.
like, oh, you want to create ARTS, you want to create a MOBA, you want to create we're going to create this new set of gaming experiences. So I realize a lot of my talking here is far ranging and maybe not as pinpointed.
Hey,
Hopefully it's not too hard to follow because it's
I don't think there's any problem with that, because the topic that we're discussing is it's right on the, we're looking at the frontier right now, and when it comes to I can't say enough. I absolutely love the product that you guys are working on, and part of that's because I've had the opportunity to really sit down and take a look at it. As a matter of fact, I'm gonna switch us over to a different screen here quick. So here's the one sheet that you have for demonstrations, basically your product sheet for Upheaval Games. So rather than me going through and butchering the whole thing, if why don't you talk about your sell sheet?
Sure. I don't see it on the screen. I'm not sure which one you're looking at.
I just if you pull up, it's the one that you sent over to me the other day.
Okay. All right.
Yep.
Let me just.
It's got the AI gaming platform on the top.
Yep. Yeah.
And unfortunately, you can't see what I see. I'm sorry about that.
Yeah.
I get excited and think you can see everything I can see.
Google Drive.
See, the platform I'm using isn't it's not intuitive. It's just I need to use one from you guys.
My sell sheet. Oh, yeah, so this one, yeah. So so everyone else can see this sheet.
Yep.
Yeah. So no code. So that's one of our core North Stars is being able to create things without code. So you see many people when they start working with new technologies, they're working with a scripting language or sliders, where let's say you want to do how old, and it's basically sliding between groups of decades. So you can you can go 30, 40, 50. But with AI, really, if you could just talk to it and say, well, I want a child and I want to see it grow in real time. I want to see a baby grow in real time throughout my game life experience. So the AI is making all these things very fine-tuned adjustments, right? By days or weeks. So, and basically do it just through chat or talk. So scripting languages and sliders, I think, are things of the past. Those are just ways in which we worked with sort of limited capabilities in regard to creating content, and we've become accustomed to that. But really, the new AI revolution just allows you to do this with chat, and so that's one of the things that our platform does that we see many others don't.
I know some Sims people that are going to absolutely love that.
Yeah. Yeah, it allows for one, you don't have to know coding or scripting, and two, it allows for a lot more variability. So real-time asset creation. So we're basically doing AI asset creation in seconds. It's not quite real time, but it's near real time. And as
I
I said, you still
Twain, who admittedly is not the master at using the tools. He's more the back end guy, but he admittedly created an avatar for me in like less than 2 minutes.
yeah.
So, and that's he gave it way more than what I wanted. I just really wanted the avatar, but he gave it the backstory, the whole had it talk to me. I mean, it was fantastic. So,
Yeah, I mean, I can share a video if you want. The multi-engine capability, so that's something else. So see companies developing for their own specific platform. Like a Roblox, or not to pick on them, but they're concentrating on working for their platform. They're working on some of these tools, but it only works in Roblox. For ours is going to work for Roblox. It's going to work for Epic, Unity. It already does. It's going to work for Sony. It's going to work. It's going to work on the web. It works across sort of any platform or any engine that the pipeline our platform can work basically within any engine.
that versatility is very, very important.
Mhm.
Because anybody out there right now who is really looking to have that opportunity to step up their game in the AI space. I mean, that's the ideal type of product you want to work with right there. Is something that can be used across multiple platforms, has that ability to be adaptable to. It's not just designed for one setting. And that's, I think, the days of that, because we're pretty used to that with all the big companies. I mean, Sony, Microsoft, all of them, for years now have gotten into this idea that I'm gonna corner my market so I can ensure my market share. So it's revolutionary. It's an old idea. It's just I'm surprised it's taken this long for somebody to actually kick it out there and say, hey, you know what? I'm gonna create something that can be used across all these platforms.
Right.
Versus I'm gonna create something just for this.
Right.
So
I mean, that's an interesting problem set. This is also, there's a lot of history here. So there used to not be a game engine. There wasn't Epic. There wasn't sorry, there wasn't Unreal. There wasn't a Unity. Right. Every game that came out was being built by its own game engine.
mm-hmm.
In that, many times still we still see that people get stuck in their own tech stack and their their own, basically their own technology, and it's hard to move out of that and think
Well,
differently about that.
and it makes it impossible to be collaborative with other groups. I mean, even if you wanted to collaborate with another studio, if your tech is completely different, I mean, how do you do that?
Yep, exactly. Um, so yeah, that's definitely another North Star for us, that multi-engine capability. Um, the backstories is something that I think a lot of people are missing too, sort of the character creation piece. And that happens because a lot of times there are technologists that are creating the uses of AI. Um, and they're not pure development focused. So we've taken that 50 years plus the rest of the people on the team. We take all that experience and we built that in, and we're teaching the AI how to create all those attributes that you need for different genres or different types of gameplay. So all that's being created, and it's really fun to actually watch as we do demos. We say, pick your genre, or pick what setting you want, and to see what it comes up with. I mean, sometimes it comes up with some pretty crazy stuff, and that's typical, right? You need to modify it, but I've seen some pretty ethereal characters that are very hard to define. What it actually looks like. No way a model or artist could use that, or
Right.
we could generate something useful. But it's really creative, and so that can inspire you to do something else. Um, and it's the same thing with the backstory. So, you might think of a traditional, there's a certain amount of genres, a certain amount of, settings that are been thinking of, classic, science fiction or cyberpunk, or, There's
Right.
15 or 20 basically settings. AI is going to come up with new stuff that we've never ever seen before, right? They're going to be um, setting new settings that are going to be things that we haven't thought of. That's mind blowing. Great. Um,
Well,
yes, it's scalable.
sometimes it just takes something a little fresh to get the that human ingenuity piece going as well. And
Yes.
then it truly becomes a tool that we're using for creativity as well as
Right.
you know
Yeah, it's really a partnership with. I mean, you spend a long time learning how to use a tool well. Whether it's
Mhm.
whether it's Max or Maya, or it's a game engine, like Unreal or Unity. You spend a long time to get that. Now you can do it with talk. You can go back and forth and say, well, I wanted to do this, I wanted to do that, and you don't need to spend months, or get someone very specialized, and find that person to do different things. Now you can ask AI to do it. But
another thing that's really exciting about that, I'm sorry, I'm interrupting. I'm sorry about that, Jeff.
no,
Is that I'm no longer like chained to my desk. I can get up and walk around and do whatever and just talk to the AI because I don't have to sit here and type everything.
hmm
I can just have a conversation. I can look at what it creates. Let's, I want to, I don't, the horns are too big. Well, it's a good example, but.
yeah, to me, it's freeing creativity, because artists and designers are some extremely creative people, and they come up with a lot of great things and great settings, right? But they're
Mhm.
still limited. They're limited
How do you take
by
it
that.
from in here and put it there?
Right, by
That's
by that time constraint. It's like, well, I only have so much time. I have this idea, but I can't quite realize it. The tools won't quite get me there. I
Yep.
can't, quite realize it. Here with the tool, I think you can. You can push your creativity further than you ever could. Not the other way around, where AI is going to think all these things for you and it's going to be done.
Right.
That's not currently the way AI works. I'm not sure it will ever be. AI works, it gets you part of the way there, but doesn't get you all the way there.
Right.
And it gets smarter and different, but still, you know, the the genesis, the soul of your mind and your thinking can be more readily realized with AI.
Right. That's, I think, one of the biggest challenges for creatives because I know a lot of highly creative people, and one of the biggest challenges is literally that being able to, first off, being able to manage the flow of ideas. That's a totally different problem. But, then being able to not just visualize it in your head, but to actually visualize it for someone else, to show them, you know what I mean? I got this really great thing going on, but I can't do it here. I gotta,
Mhm.
and that's I really see AI this type of product being something that can do that and be able to allow you to take that thing out of here and put it on the screen and show it to the world, show it to people.
Yep, yep. It's that's pretty cool. Uh, so, and another piece here is, there's two other pieces here. The support teams of different sizes, and allows studios to collaborate more easily with different studios. So one of the things we're able to do now is to encode like a 1 megabyte character into a few kilobytes. No, as far as I know, no one else is doing this. This is it's one of our sort of patentable ideas. But
Right.
now allows these characters, which have the unlimited permanent memories all stored, and we can do it like in just a few kilobytes. So now we can transfer these items throughout, easily throughout, different game worlds, at almost no cost. And the other thought here is local LLM. So everyone has their own LLM that's personally trained for them. So like a pocket LLM. You see this? I'm sorry, this all sounds like science fiction. It is, because I see it in science fiction movies, right?
Hmm.
Where you have your own personal, um, assistant or robot, but basically that's going to happen. So it'll be personalized LLMs that are an extension of your creativity and personality.
It,
This is totally weird coming out of my mouth.
I think
I
our
realize it sounds incredible, but
you look
it's
at all the
something that
advances. Look at all the advances we've this thing right here. I mean, what did
yeah,
that potentially started out as a tricorder on some, show out there
right,
somewhere. I
right,
mean,
right, right. We live in pretty wild times, Greg. I think, and it's really exciting times for, I think, people. So hopefully they'll embrace it. The industry is still somewhat reluctant. Not everyone's early adopters, but there's a certain amount of immunity response. Probably you're 20, use that term. We talk about that in that way where, the body sees a foreign body and it's putting all these people around it. And, the white blood cells are coming in to fight it and destroy it. So, there is a certain amount of immunity response happening. We've had people say, "Oh, I'm just never going to use it. I'm not going to do it. I hate it. I
right.
don't care. Not going to embrace it." But there are some people that will, and we are going to see, big advancements here. May not be like the Terminator reality that people think, but we are going to see incredible advancements in many areas.
It probably is very much. I mean, just like any other new product when it's introduced to market. I mean, you got your early adopters, which is roughly probably 5 to 10% of your market. So
Mhm.
you're really marketing to a very small crowd in the beginning. But it's important that you get out and reach those folks.
Mhm.
And then you're going to have those probably 20% of the marketplace that they're probably still using, they probably still have a rotary phone hanging on the wall somewhere. I mean, but
Mhm. Yeah. Can am I okay to share a video here, or
actually, if you pass it over to me, I will put it up for you.
okay? I wanted to show you. Let me just see.
You're gonna test my technical skills. That's okay.
Uh, Let me see. I guess I'll email you the link.
Just pass it over in Discord. Nice and quick. I can do it that way.
Want everyone see that, or
Nope.
okay? Let me just see which one I want to show you here. Drive.
No, I use a third party platform, so they don't the Discord scene's something different. I just use the Discord for communication behind the scenes. Everybody in the world now knows my little dirty secrets.
There, heal video, art audio.
Hmm.
Because I often feel like we talk about it, and people, as I raise money, I can talk about it, but when they see it is when they really start to get it. They really start to understand it. And
Right.
even though we spent quite a bit of time trying to talk about it, it's still hard for people to grasp what I'm talking about.
I should have pulled some of the video because they're Upheaval AI. If you have not checked them out, actually you can go right to upheavalai.com, which is Upheaval Games website. And I'll get that in the chat for everybody. Or check them out on LinkedIn, because they're always posting new content out there. I'm sure the video we're gonna watch is probably linked on LinkedIn.
It probably is, because I have so many videos to pick from. Let me do that. That's probably a better idea to do that. Because LinkedIn, we put um, more videos on LinkedIn than we do on our own website. So if we just go to,
I am actually going to put up the website in the chat here so everybody can go and check that out as well.
uh, Yeah, no, that's. I guess I should have been prepared. Sorry.
That's all right. That's all right. If you guys go to the Upheaval AI site, as a matter of fact, I have your LinkedIn profile. The address is right there above your display. So if anybody wants to take a look at that, please do. Connect with Jeff. You know, he can answer any questions you have, or one of his team members can answer any questions you have about what is going on with Upheaval Games, Upheaval AI as a product. And you know, what are they capable of doing for you in the future? We have the sell sheet here, which I'm gonna switch us back over to the other screen here, Jeff. Whatever questions you have, I'm gonna get also gonna pull your LinkedIn. So we got that, and there we are, nice and easy to find. Copy. Okay, and I'll put that in there.
Okay, I think this. There. Here it is.
You found it.
Yeah. Here you go.
I see Twain is busy sending me resources, by the way.
It says login will open in a separate window. So I have to log into chat. I have to be a Twitch account.
Yeah, if you could, do you have a link to it?
Yeah, I have a link, but I can't. It looks like I have to log in to be able to stream the chat.
Hold on a second. All right, actually, hold on just 1 minute, and I will create something that we can use to do this. So we get to do some creation right here on the stream, changing the stream as we go. Screen. Yes, and pull that one. Okay. All right, so the one that I have is the item creation made easy. That's the one that Twain just sent me a little bit ago. So I'll play through that one quick.
We start out having we always were challenged to put together a bunch of videos. Now we have so many videos, it's hard to, you know, keep them all organized.
Twain showed me a lot. I've seen so many assets, it just blows my mind how much stuff, you know, and how easy it is to do.
Yep. So is that the one where we're creating? Is that the one where we're creating the anime or the stylized boy and his dragon?
Yeah, it's got the. Hold on a second. Let me shrink that down. All right, I'm gonna move us back over for a moment here while I play around with that in the background.
All right, I sent it to you on LinkedIn because I don't know.
All right. There we go. Okay. I had to shrink that. Here we go. And that's the realm video. Okay. Which one did you want me to show, Jeff? The tech video?
It's called... Oh. Do you see the one in LinkedIn I just sent you?
Yeah, I just opened that. I just opened that up, and it's got a bunch of videos inside.
Oh, is it the whole drive?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. So do in-game Dreamer.
Game Dreamer. Okay. All right, and give me just a moment, and we'll be able to see that. Here we go. Okay. Pop that out. There we are. All right, here we go. You ready?
Yeah. So I can't see it, so you tell me when it's...
Right now we've just re-armored the little boy.
Right. So a designer is saying, well, I want to create a dragon boy, right? And so now it's saying, I want to try different types of armor, and on that top, that little roulette, that little casino type rotating thing, the AI is creating different versions, so you can go in already. You don't even have to talk to it. You can just pick a picture and say, well, I want to try this one or that one or this one out. Maybe you're at the point in the video where it's showing the different dragons. So you don't even have to talk to it anymore. It's already creating different versions that you can go in. And there was an example of the helm, and said, oh, I want a different type of helmet, or I want a different type of armor. It's all being created on the fly in sort of in very fast in real time. You see it right there, slightly sped up, but again, this is only a matter of seconds for this creation process. These some of these models here have been, edited after an artist has touched them up, so they're not purely ready on the 3D space, but still, this is all happening in a relatively short time.
I'm looking at
the creative process.
I'm looking at the really cute little dragon.
Yeah, and it's totally changed. So this is all happening just with text. I mean, sorry, with voice. And to me, this will enable the creators to go further than they could before.
Is beautiful. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and play through the rest of this video quick.
Okay.
So we can give everybody kind of the picture of what you just explained to us with the dragon.
You want me to flip that again, or?
No, you're good.
Okay.
It's operator error. I wasn't keeping up with you quite well enough. Excellent. That is awesome, and a fantastic demonstration of what the possibilities are. Hold on a second. Shrink that back down. So that one gives the idea of how quickly it responds as far as being able to change characters, change the look and feel of assets. Is there anything else you'd like to share?
I mean, so I think that really well demonstrates how a typical artist and designer would work together.
Mm-hmm.
So, a designer might say, well, I want a dragon, okay, or I want a boy, and then the artist, and then there's a discussion around the style. Okay, I want it to be cartoonish, or and then there's what level of cartoonish do you want, and what kind of size variations. Then you talk about what kind of armor. And then, an artist would do it back and forth. And then, a dragon, and I want this type of dragon, and I want to size it up. I want it bigger. I want it smaller. This whole process generally would take weeks. Now you're doing it in minutes. So now, obviously, you can see that you can take this process much further versus, I want a dragon with 4 wings. What might that? I want a dragonfly type, dragon, multiple wings, or I want, instead of scales, I want, a glass, a glass armor, or, whatever, wherever your imagination can go. Now you can go further with it. And so I think that's what this is demonstrating. It's
Right.
demonstrated rapid iteration, and it's also showing you that it can be your assistant in coming up with new things. That casino roulette, a slot machine on the top,
Hmm.
that's actually making its own suggestions for you as well. So, if you're kind of stuck in the creativity, you can say, well, yeah, I kind of like this idea. Let's take it further down this road. So
I
the AI is working concurrently with you in the background as you're trying to come up with ideas. It's coming up with its own ideas. And you can say, well, I kind of like this idea. Let's take it further this way, or let's pull it back. And,
right.
this is, this totally changes the development process.
It does completely. It's
Yeah. Yeah.
I can't, yeah, if I was to back up 20 years, I don't think I could imagine being something like this.
Right.
You think about the good old days, the Apple IIe and DOS programming, and you know, wow,
Yep.
to even visualize coming to this point where the old idea that everything had to be algorithmic in some, well, I mean, algorithm was the new thing then. And that's just creating a chain of codes that interact based on question and answer, basically. But
Yeah. And so we can just, for dating purposes, I guess, back, Twin and I both, I think one of our first programs was making a rocket booster, which is, I think one of the first things they were giving you on these old IBM computers, where you'd have to adjust the thrust so the rocket wouldn't hit into the ground. And then it would do like these little triangles that made a ship that would come across a piece of paper, a printed paper on a dot matrix printer, and it would show you, the ship dropping. And then, obviously, then at some point we added color,
I
8-bit color,
I
and,
think I
things
played those
over the
games, by the
modem.
way.
Yeah. Yeah. So, it's certainly gone advanced, but, just in 6 months, bring it back to modern times, the ability to do this wasn't possible 6 months ago. Is in 6 months. So it's a wild ride.
It is a wild ride, and it's
Mhm.
an awesome ride to be on. So for the future, let's look at that for just a moment. What do you see? I know this is such a wide question. I'm trying to pare it down just a little bit. Um, let's just say 3 months from now, where do you see Upheaval AI being 3 months from now?
Yeah. So for us, I think, a lot's going to depend on the people we team with, and their specific need set. But, um, right now we're working more on animations. We just signed a new partner we're working with to be doing text to animation type work. So right now, state of the art is, the auto rigging happens in a non-exact or precise manner. So all those key points are added to the models, and you have to take each point and move it to make it, the correct spot. And then you have to tie it into, animation sets. So, we tie into Unreal's, they have like 300 animation sets that we tie into. But, I think that's still limited to 300, and it's still limited to, artists having to touch up that rig and tie it in. So I think what we can do soon, maybe within 3 months, if we focus on it, definitely, but being able to basically, talk to it and say, I want the animation to do this, and it would do it. So I want it to take a bigger step, or I want it to have a bigger impact on the ground. I want the ground to shake when you take a step, or I want the left eye to blink, and I want to chew gum and walk at the same time, or whatever.
Right.
Be able to create that on the fly. Um, and why this is important, besides just making it faster, is now the AI can be thinking of new experiences for you. Um, I want to, climb this vertical wall. I mean, that's not too imaginative, but I want to hop in a glider and, pilot a glider. And it will be able to create those animations that, put your hand on the stick and do different things that you couldn't do. We're all getting to this point where this game world evolves around you based on what the AI thinks it wants to create for you in that experience.
Right. Right. So Jeff, I've gone way over time. I really thank you for for hanging out and being uh, good with that. I do want to ask a couple more questions before we kind of roll this together, and I think there's a couple of important things here. Um, Number one is, I mean, you're at a point right now where growing and expanding. If I was a two different people, one is if I was an investor and I was interested in investing in Upheaval, who would I talk to? Where would I go?
You can come to me. You can look on our website. You can book a demo. You can just email me directly. I'm happy. My email is jeff@upheavalai.com, and I'd love to talk to you. We'd love to give you a personal demo. You see behind closed doors exactly what we can deliver, and I'd love to chat with you.
Okay, and that's fantastic. Good information, and yeah, I've got all that information. Um, the other one would be if I was a studio, say I was a Sony, and I wanted to get a hold of you and explore some possibilities. Not even a partnership or anything like that. I just, hey, I now am aware of these people and I want to see what they're doing so that I can see how they fit when it comes to my business. How would I go about doing that?
So it's the same thing. You can either go to me or to my partner Twain. So it's Twain@peopleai.com, and go to either of us, and we're happy to get you scheduled to again show you what we built, and start those discussions on what your needs are, understanding that, and we can start integrating AI into your pipeline.
That's awesome. Nice and easy.
Yeah.
No
Yep.
fuss. I like it.
Yeah.
So last question for you, totally different note. I am a creative, whether I'm a coder, I'm a designer, I'm an artist, I'm just some guy who likes to talk to people. Who do I talk to if I'm interested in going to work for Upheaval Games?
We have something on our site. He built AI, which says if you have a question, so I would go there and submit the resume. You can submit your resume to me. I mean, we're a small group, 7-person studio. So if you're interested in Gen AI, you want to do Gen AI first in everything you do, then absolutely send me a note. I'm happy to speak with you.
Awesome, awesome. Well, you heard it right there, folks. Anybody who is interested in a fantastic atmosphere with some really great people. I've had the opportunity over the past year here to get to know Twain, and now Jeff, two members of the team. I'm sure in the future I'll get to know some of the other members of the team. I hope so anyway. Um, they're great people, and they have a fantastic product that I think is really going to change things. It's beautiful. With that, is there any do you have any questions for me, or do you have anything else that you'd like to share, Jeff?
Um, I think that's it. I would say don't shy away from AI, but embrace it. Genie's out of the bottle, and it's an exciting time that can really uh, help what you're trying to do in games or in interactive entertainment.
That's awesome. Used as a tool,
Yeah,
absolutely.
yeah,
100%. AI is here to stay, and hey, get on board with it. That's
yeah.
there's plenty of opportunity to grow.
Well, I want to thank you so much for putting us on. I realized some of my topics were a little bit rambling there, but there's so much ground to cover here.
Have,
So
have
many
you
things to talk about in
have,
regard to,
have you seen any of my programming? It's a lot of rambling, so I mean we do pretty well with that.
you do excellent. Thank you so much for the interview.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you very much, Jeff. And thank you to our audience tonight and everybody out there watching the video. Please do check out Upheaval Games. They are a rising star in the industry and some legendary people that in the industry. Yeah, a lot of these people don't get their horn tooted enough, but these are people that have worked on and been involved with the development of some games that are very near and dear to many of our hearts. And they know what they're doing, and they're really taking this project is about making the whole industry a better place. So go check them out, get involved, talk to Jeff.